They told me there was no tickets left on the flight. So I stayed home while 11 of them flew to Costa Rica. My sister sent a sorry text with a smiling emoji. 3 hours later, my uncle sent a photo of the villa with my name still on the door. Then I got the invoice. All of it was on my card. I didn't argue. I just contacted the bank, froze the account, and requested a full refund. By night, they were kicked out, forced to pay full prices, and had no money left for the flight home. I, 32M, stared at my phone, reading my sister's message for the third time. The flight was full. No room for me. Sorry with a grinning emoji. My family had left for Costa Rica that morning without me, and apparently, I was the only one who didn't make the cut. I'd been planning this trip for months. My idea, actually. A villa in the mountains, big enough for everyone. Paid vacation for the whole extended family. My parents hadn't traveled in years. My sister had 2 kids who'd never left the country. My cousins were drowning in work stress. I wanted to do something good, something memorable. I'd spent weeks coordinating schedules, finding the perfect property, booking everything. 11 people total. 12, including me. The text came 2 hours before their flight. I was already packed, my bag sitting by the door. She said the airline made a mistake with the booking. 1 seat short. They'd tried everything, but there was nothing available. Someone had to stay behind, and since I organized it, I probably had backups planned anyway, right? The emoji at the end made my stomach turn. I called her. Voicemail. I called my parents. Voicemail. I tried my cousin. Nothing. They were all in the air now, heading south while I stood in my apartment with a useless suitcase and a growing knot of confusion in my chest. 3 hours after that first text, my phone buzzed again. My uncle. He'd sent a photo of the villa's entrance. Beautiful place, wooden beams, tropical plants framing the doorway. But what caught my eye was the small plaque next to the main door. Each bedroom had a name card. I could see mine clearly in the photo. My room. Still labeled. Still waiting. I zoomed in on the image. There were 12 cards. 12 rooms. 12 names. My hands started shaking before my brain fully processed what that meant. There had been space. There had always been space. They'd lied. They'd deliberately left me behind. I opened my banking app with numb fingers, already knowing what I'd find. The villa rental. The flights. The car service. The grocery delivery I'd arranged for their arrival. Everything had processed yesterday. Everything was on my card. I'd offered to front the costs since I had the miles and cashback benefits, and everyone was supposed to Venmo me their share. We'd agreed on it months ago. I had screenshots of the group chat where they'd all confirmed. My phone buzzed with another message. My sister, this time sending a video of everyone toasting with drinks on the villa's terrace. My mother was laughing. My father had his arm around my aunt. The kids were running around the pool. Everyone looked so happy, so relieved to be there. Without me, I sat down on my couch and thought about what kind of people do this. What kind of family looks at someone who's giving them a free vacation and decides he's the one who doesn't deserve to come? I thought about the group chat from last week where they'd all been discussing what to pack. I'd been part of that conversation. I'd given advice. I'd sent links to weather forecasts and local restaurants. They'd known. The whole time, they'd known they were going to leave me behind. I called my bank. The representative was helpful and efficient. I explained that there had been fraudulent charges on my account. No, I hadn't authorized this trip. No, I hadn't given anyone permission to use my card. Yes, I wanted to freeze the account immediately and dispute all charges related to the Costa Rica booking. She put me on hold for 6 minutes. When she came back, she confirmed everything. Account frozen. Disputes filed. The villa rental company would be notified that payment was being reversed. Same with the airline. The charges would be refunded within 7 to 10 business days, but the holds would be removed immediately. I asked her what that meant for the people currently at the villa. She paused, then explained that the property management company would likely receive an automatic notification. Their reservation would be flagged as unpaid. Depending on the company's policy, they might be asked to provide alternative payment immediately or vacate the premises. I thanked her and hung up. Then I made myself dinner. Pasta with marinara sauce. I ate slowly, thinking about nothing in particular. My phone kept buzzing. I didn't look at it. By the time I finished eating, I had 47 unread messages. I poured myself a drink and finally opened the group chat. Chaos. Pure chaos. My sister said someone from the villa had knocked on their door an hour after they'd arrived. There was a problem with payment. The card on file had been declined. They needed another form of payment, or everyone had to leave. She tried to explain that I'd already paid, but the property manager showed her the reversal notification. Disputed charge. Full refund processing. The reservation was void. My father had tried using his credit card. Declined. The rental was nearly $8,000 for the week, and he didn't have that kind of limit. My aunt tried hers. Same problem. My cousin offered to split it 4 ways with his brothers, but even divided up, none of them had enough available credit on the spot. The property manager gave them 2 hours to figure it out or leave. My mother's message came next. She was asking me what happened. Why was the payment reversed? Was there a mistake with my bank? Could I call them and fix it? They were going to lose the villa. I didn't respond. My sister sent a private message. She said this wasn't funny. She had her kids with her. They couldn't just be thrown out onto the street in a foreign country. She needed me to call the bank right now and authorize the payment again. I turned my phone face down and watched TV for a while. When I checked again 2 hours later, the tone had shifted. The property manager had kicked them out. They'd had to scramble to find hotel rooms, but everything nearby was booked or astronomically expensive. They'd ended up at some budget place 30 minutes away, and they'd had to split into 3 different rooms because that's all that was available. My sister said it cost them $900 just for one night, and they didn't have enough money left to cover the rest of the week. My father called me directly. I let it ring. He left a voicemail asking me to please pick up. There had been a misunderstanding. They'd made a mistake. He knew that now, but they needed help. They were stuck in Costa Rica with maxed-out credit cards and no way to enjoy the vacation or even pay for basic necessities. Could I please reinstate the villa payment? They'd pay me back. They promised. I deleted the voicemail without responding. The group chat exploded over the next few hours. My sister said I was being vindictive and cruel. My cousin said I was overreacting to a simple miscommunication. My aunt said she couldn't believe I'd do this to family. My mother said she was disappointed in me. Not a single person acknowledged what they'd done. Not one of them said the words, "I'm sorry for lying to you. I'm sorry for excluding you from a trip you planned and paid for." Around midnight, my uncle sent a private message. He was the one who'd sent the photo earlier. He said he hadn't known about the plan to leave me behind until they were already at the airport. He'd assumed I was coming separately or meeting them there. When he'd asked where I was, my sister told him I'd decided not to come at the last minute. He believed her until he saw my name still on the bedroom door and realized something wasn't right. He said what they did was wrong. He understood why I was angry. He wasn't asking me to fix anything. He just wanted me to know that not everyone was in on it. I thanked him. Then I muted the group chat and went to bed. Update 1. The next morning, I woke up to 112 messages. I made coffee before reading any of them. The hotel they'd stayed at charged them another $900 for the second night. My father tried to book return flights early, but the change fees plus the price difference meant they'd need another $3,000 per person. None of them had it. My sister started a separate group chat without me, and someone accidentally added me to it for 30 seconds before removing me. In that brief window, I saw them discussing whether they should report me to the police for theft. That made me laugh. They wanted to report me for reversing fraudulent charges on my own credit card. My phone rang. My mother. I answered this time. She asked me what I was doing. I told her I was having breakfast. She said I knew what she meant. Why was I doing this to them? Why was I punishing everyone? I asked her if she knew they were planning to leave me behind. There was a long silence. Then she said it wasn't like that. They'd thought I'd be fine. I was always fine. I didn't need a vacation as much as everyone else did. I worked from home. I had flexibility. Her voice got smaller as she talked, like she was realizing how it sounded out loud. I asked her if she'd said anything when they made this decision. If she'd stood up for me at all. Another silence. She said she was sorry. She said it had seemed like a small thing at the time. One person staying home so everyone else could go. But now she understood it was hurtful. Could I please help them? They were stuck. They couldn't afford to stay, couldn't afford to leave, couldn't afford to eat anything except convenience store food. I told her I'd paid for a vacation I wasn't allowed to attend. I'd fronted thousands of dollars for people who'd lied to me. And when they got caught, not because of guilt, but because of a photo accidentally sent, their first response wasn't to apologize but to demand I fix their problem. I asked her how she thought that made me feel. She started crying. She said I was right. She said they'd been selfish and thoughtless. She said she'd failed me as a mother. She begged me to let her make it right when they got home. I told her I'd think about it and hung up. My sister called next. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail saying I was destroying the family over a stupid misunderstanding. Her kids were crying because they had to leave. Did I feel good about that? Did I enjoy hurting children? I felt a lot of things, but guilt wasn't one of them. My cousin sent a long text explaining that he'd never wanted to exclude me. He'd just gone along with what everyone else decided because he didn't want to cause drama. He thought I'd understand. He thought I was the kind of person who'd sacrifice for family. Wasn't that what I always did? That last part stayed with me. The kind of person who'd sacrifice for family. They'd built an entire justification around the idea that I was supposed to accept being treated badly because that's just who I was. The reliable one. The one who'd take it without complaint. I blocked his number. Update 2. By day 3, they'd run out of options. My father called from my aunt's phone, assuming I'd blocked his number. I hadn't, but I didn't tell him that. He sounded exhausted. Defeated. He said they'd pooled all their remaining money and booked the earliest flight home they could afford. They'd be landing tomorrow night. They'd have to borrow money from friends to get from the airport to their houses. They'd maxed out every credit card. They'd have debt for months. He said he understood I was angry. He said he'd failed as a father by letting this happen. He said he hoped someday I could forgive them, but he understood if I couldn't. Then he hung up without waiting for a response. I sat with that for a while. Part of me felt vindicated. They'd faced consequences for their actions. Real, tangible consequences that they couldn't talk or manipulate their way out of. But another part of me felt hollow. This was my family. These were people I'd loved my entire life. And they'd hurt me so casually, so thoughtlessly, that it didn't even register as wrong until it cost them something. My sister sent one final message before their flight. She said she'd never forgive me for this. She said I'd shown my true colors. She said when she got home, she was done with me. I'd never see her kids again. I'd ruined everything. I didn't respond. My uncle called that evening. He asked if I was okay. I told him I didn't know yet. He said he'd told everyone off on my behalf. He'd made it clear that what they'd done was unforgivable, and if they couldn't see that, they didn't deserve my forgiveness. He'd offered to pay for his own flight home early just to separate himself from the situation, but his wife convinced him to stay and at least try to salvage something of the trip. I appreciated that. It helped, knowing at least one person understood. Update 3. They landed the next evening. I didn't go to the airport. Nobody asked me to. My mother called 2 days later. She said she wanted to see me. To talk in person. I agreed to meet her for coffee. She looked older than I remembered. Tired. She sat across from me and didn't say anything for a long moment. Then she asked me what happened to us. When did we become the kind of family that treats each other like this? I told her it didn't happen suddenly. It had been building for years. Every time someone needed money, they called me. Every time someone needed a favor, I was expected to drop everything. Every time there was a family event I didn't want to attend, I was guilt-tripped into going. But when I needed support, when I needed someone to stand up for me, nobody was there. They'd taken me for granted so long they'd forgotten I was a person with feelings. She nodded slowly. She said she saw that now. She said she'd enabled it by never calling it out. She'd let my sister and cousins treat me like a resource instead of a brother and nephew. She'd let my father brush off my feelings because it was easier than confronting the family dynamics. I asked her what she wanted from this conversation. She said she didn't want anything. She just wanted me to know she was sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. She understood if I needed space. She understood if I couldn't forgive them. But she wanted me to know she loved me and she'd failed me. I told her I needed time. She said she understood. My sister never called. Neither did most of my cousins. My father sent a short email 2 weeks later saying he'd paid off the portion of the trip that was his responsibility, even though the charges had been refunded. He transferred $2,000 into my account. He said it wasn't enough, but it was what he could afford right now. He said he hoped we could rebuild eventually. I didn't respond, but I didn't send the money back either. 3 months later, I'm still processing everything. I haven't been to any family gatherings. I've ignored invitations to birthdays and holidays. My mother calls once a week. We talk about surface-level things. She doesn't push. My uncle invited me to lunch last week. We talked about work and sports and nothing important. It felt normal. It felt safe. He told me my sister was still bad-mouthing me to anyone who'd listen. He said most people were getting tired of it. They'd started to see through her version of events. I asked him if he thought I did the right thing. He said there was no right thing in a situation like that. There were just choices and consequences. I'd made a choice to enforce boundaries. They'd faced consequences for crossing them. Whether it was right depended on who was telling the story. I think about that a lot. About stories and perspectives, and who gets to decide what's justified. I don't regret what I did. I won't apologize for refusing to be a doormat. But I also know something in my family broke that day, and I'm not sure it can be fixed. Maybe that's okay. Maybe some things aren't meant to be fixed. Maybe some bridges need to burn so you can stop walking back across them. I don't know yet. But for the first time in years, I'm not carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations. I'm not the reliable one anymore. I'm just me. And that feels like enough. If you like this story, please like this video and subscribe us for more such real-life-based stories. Thanks in advance.